There are a few key things to understand about how a body, how a person, how an athlete propels themselves during a running cycle. The first primary key is to understand that we propel ourselves forward using the ability to push into the ground, to apply force through the leg that's in contact with the ground, out through the foot into the ground, and we use that force, or the ground reaction to the force that we're applying into the ground, to propel ourselves forward. The force that we're able to apply into the ground comes primarily from two sources: hip extension and knee extension. Hip flexion is as we bend the top of our leg up towards our torso. Extension is as we push it away. Okay? Knee flexion is as we bend the bottom part of our leg towards the top part of our leg. That would be flexion. Extension is as we push it away. So the key components of force into the ground come from the leg that is in contact with the ground while we're running, through primarily hip extension and knee extension. So those two joints work simultaneously to create force, which then is translated into the ground, which creates that forward propulsion. Understand also that these are some of the biggest, most powerful muscles in our body. Our quads are affecting the knee extension, and our glute in particular affecting the hip extension. So there's a lot of force and a lot of power to be had when those joints work together to extend the leg and push into the ground. Another thing to understand is that there are essentially two kinds of force that we are applying into the ground when we extend and push our foot into the ground as a part of that propulsion. The first force is what we'll call vertical force. Vertical force is applied directly into the surface, essentially at a normal or a 90-degree angle to the surface that you're running on. So that force is primarily being applied downward or vertical, and that force is primarily used to create a strong interface or friction, let's say, between the foot and the ground. So that's our first force. Our second force is a little bit trickier. The second force is horizontal. That force is applied more along the surface of the ground, or the surface that we're running on. And it's the primary force that we are using to push ourselves forward. So we're pushing horizontally along the ground this direction to allow ourselves to propel forward. The downward force, the first component, creating the interface; the horizontal, or the second component, creating the forward movement.